Hello and welcome back to another episode of Mortgage Tech Talks. As always, I'm your host, Tom, joined by my co-host, Massimo. We are now officially doubling our pace of podcasts. I'm looking forward to it. It allows us to kind of get into a rhythm a little bit more. So we used to do every 2 weeks. Now we're doing every week. And yeah, it allows us to get in a rhythm a bit more and hopefully our listeners too. Right. I think that it's every other week. It's kind of like, oh, is there a new one? Is there not a new one? But me and Mass, we always listen to this podcast called All In, and it always comes out what, like Friday?
Friday, yeah. I
Yeah,
listen to it
Friday night.
Monday. I think you do Saturday, but
I do
uh,
sometime over the weekend, but it's
it's
like
like a
I
ritual
built that
now.
in. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
like built that into my routine, right? I don't know if you have. Sounds like it. Like it's always Monday or something
Yeah, I
like
bring
that. Yeah.
I bring the dog to daycare on Monday and I listen
Oh
to it in
God,
the car.
how long's that drive to daycare, man? That's like a
It's
2 hour
25
drive.
minute 25 minutes each way. So I don't finish it
Well, then
all. There's
twice,
some
but then twice, right? Because you pick
Oh
them
yeah,
up.
yeah. So 2 hours. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I usually finish it by the way, picking him up on the way home. But
Yeah, yeah.
it sounds ridiculous talking about my dog at daycare. But anyways, yeah, it is a ritual, and I look forward to it. So that's what we're hoping you guys get for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's not ridiculous, man. Daycare. Oh, one of those Nadia saying. Nadia is one of the members of our team. She was saying, dogs are the new kids and plants are the new dogs or something like that.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
And
like
it's kind of
plants.
true. I mean,
Oh my
all my
God.
friends and even me and you, like we've been very dog focused. I mean, that's a lot of our friends have been very dog focused and making purchases because of the dogs. When I show my parents what we do for the dog and what we feed the dog and how we treat the dog, they don't they're like,
I
is
know.
that a dog anymore? Like it's
Yeah,
basically a child. So
yeah. It's
anyways.
like your baby. Yeah, because for my parents, I mean my grandparents, it was like marriage, home, dog.
Right.
For us, it's exactly the opposite order. Well, at least it was for me, and I think you too. It was
Yeah, yeah, same. Yeah.
dog, house, then marriage, right? And I don't know, kids are somewhere in there. I don't know, but I
Yeah,
think it's
exactly.
still marriage, kids. That part at least has stayed the same. You get married
Yeah.
before you have kids, generally, but maybe that'll be our kids. Our kids will be completely reverse the order. I don't know. Anyways, so every week, hopefully, I don't know how we got to plants and kids and all that stuff. But every week we're going to be coming up. So we're really excited about it, and we hope you guys are too. But to kick this off, kind of this new rhythm, we thought we'd touch on something that we know is near and dear to our hearts, but especially mortgage brokers who are concerned about technology is document portals, online applications. They kind of are separate things, but kind of bundled together. So we're going to get into it and we're going to chat about it and maybe provide some examples. We're going to do our best to not say, okay, well, 'cause there's a lot of, as probably brokers listening, know a lot of options out there. We're going to kind of give our as best we can objective point of view. At the end of the episode, we're not going to say, and honestly, it does depend. We're not going to say, hey, everyone has to be using this product, switch to it now. And I think we talked about that even when we did like, video conferencing type products, right? We said, hey, this is good, this is bad. General, maybe this one's a bit better, but it depends on your situation. So, we're gonna really kind of treat it the same way here. But in any case, let's get right into it. So document portals, online applications, just catch us up, Matt. What are those? I mean, I think you made one, didn't you, at one point? Like, I don't know, 8 years ago or something like that. But
A long time
fill us in
ago.
a bit because that was at a time where people didn't really have these. Now they're a bit more ubiquitous. But what do you
Yeah.
see and what are they? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean they're kind of in the names a little bit, but essentially what they are is digital ways of giving your information to a broker. So that's the online application. So think of it like, I don't know, an online ordering form, or when you go to someone's website and you type your first name, your last name, your email. These are much more intense, where it'll ask you where you live, how much money you make, what kind of house are you going to buy. We'll get into all of that. That's the online application. And as you're alluding to, that's what I attempted to, I mean, we built one, very custom for a client way back in the day before these were really popular. Because honestly, clients don't want to come in and meet people as much anymore or at all. When I say people, I mean like come in and sit with the broker and type on a sheet of paper. They want to do it at home with their husband or wife on the couch and in whatever.
Right.
And so that's step one, collecting application. So an online application, it's an online form that you can fill out. And then the second piece, document portal, is in all of these transactions and mortgages, you obviously need to prove that you make a certain amount of money, that you're a citizen, et cetera, all kinds of documentation you need to come up with. And it's a bit annoying mailing that or scanning that or faxing that. So people made portals where you could log in and upload all your documents, and the broker could actually say, oh, that one looks good, or
Right.
you're missing this or missing that. So basically, online means of giving a broker your information, whether that be documentation or your name and address. And those really started blowing up, well, really
I
in
don't know,
COVID,
20,
they really
yeah,
blew up,
COVID,
but,
right? Yeah, yeah. Like you're
prior to
starting to
that, they
see
yeah,
like 2019 people starting to experiment with it. I think it was probably I think Finmo was the first one we kind of saw,
yeah,
our ears stuck up with because yeah, that was what it seemed to be one of the first platforms that did it. And then in COVID, it was kind of like, hey, we have to do it, and it is, hey, people don't want to come in and do it over the computer or in person. But it's also it turned into, especially in COVID, people started paying attention to digital security more. It became a kind of security risk that, hey, just be emailing your whatever driver's license over your
yeah.
email, because really in most digital transactions, email is by far the most vulnerable point. Like by far and away, right? It's not even close. People hack emails all the time, and so from a regulatory perspective, especially brokerages who had that exposure, they really encourage their members of their team, their agents, to start using these portals because it's night and day in terms of security. So I think it kind of started, okay, COVID, we kind of don't have a choice. Younger clients really wanted that digital experience. They didn't really want to talk to anyone. And then it really ramped up as people said, okay, not only is this a convenience thing, this is a regulatory thing. So that was 20, yeah, 19, we started seeing it. COVID, it really took off. And honestly, now, today in 2020, I was supposed to say 2023, but it's 2024, really commonly used. And really, it's so commonly used because it's now more or less integrated with the what we call the deal submission platform. So, we talked about Finmo. They actually then what merged, or was it an acquisition, I think, with Lendesk, and now they are their own submission platform. What's that? You say, I don't know?
I don't know
Yeah, I
literally
think it was
what
an acquisition.
happened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
I
don't know.
call it an acquisition as well, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's call it
uh,
that. I
yeah.
mean, I think if anyone from Venmo, as the inside scoop is listening, can correct us. But I think that's, for all intents and purposes, it's kind of what happened. Then Scarlet, I think, kind of did a similar thing. They started as like a portal, and then they did that. And then I think what happened then was Velocity, Boss, and Trilogic, the existing submission platform, said, "Hey, that's a pretty cool feature," and they rolled out their own version, either homegrown, like Velocity kind of did their own, or they did the same move as Lendesk, like so Trilogic bought Door, which kind of gave them access to those features. So it's really everywhere now, right? I don't think there's a broker out there, if they're not using one of these types of things, it's because they're choosing not to, right? It's based on their clients. And,
Yeah.
we get that. I think you work with a lot of clients that are not using these types of tools, like prefer to still do the paper app.
Less and less, and I was gonna say it's almost becoming like a competitive disadvantage in a sense where, I mean, it obviously depends on your clients and who you're going for. Um, if you've kind of got an older demographic that still likes the in person or whatever, and then maybe these aren't your favorite. But honestly, it's like you said, so much more secure. It honestly, we'll talk about some of the benefits of like drop off of apps and getting the apps back and all of that. But like people fill them out quicker, it's more secure, and it makes you look really professional. All these tools, you can kind of brand it. They're building all these nice features in, like autofills for your address and pulls
Right.
from your bank account and stuff like that. So honestly, I see very few that don't use anything anymore in terms of
Yeah.
an online app or doc portal. I can't even think of any recently. So maybe
Yeah,
the
I think
commercial guys, but like I mean, that's not really our demographic.
yeah, we do more
So
residential. We work with more residential brokers. And honestly, yeah, I think, some people might be listening and say, listen, I get it. It's going to be smoother, but you know what? This is how I differentiate from, let's say, the bank, right? So the bank's kind of going that way too. For me, how I deal with my clients, I like to sit them down. Yeah, you're saying it's antiquated. Yeah, you're saying that it got killed in COVID. I disagree, actually. I still really like to do that. that's okay. You know what? I think the other thing with it, kind of with all the stuff you're talking, or starting to allude to, Mass, and we'll get into more, is that this actually helps that conversation, right? Instead of, okay, someone coming in and just to use the autofill example, they could sit there and type in their address or write in their address, and then you take it and then you key it into, your Filogic system or whatever it might be. Or you literally just sit there with them and turn your screen around, you maybe sitting across the table and you start typing in and you say, hey, is that your address? You click it and, you're saving time. And again, you can have that personal touch, but you're just coming across that much more professional. So yeah, I agree. Like more and more people saying, yeah, even though I do like the personal touch, hey, by all means, still do that. But this just gives you that added benefit of the professionalism and the efficiency. So
Agreed.
we've been kind of alluding to it a bit, but let's get into like the nitty gritty. What are, the best out there doing in terms of, just the features you should expect. What's that best in breed? What are these best practices that are going to help you, whether you do it online or in person, doesn't matter. What are these features that really kind of set you apart or give you that competitive advantage you were talking about?
Yeah, I mean, the first one that comes to mind, and again, I think Finmo pioneered it. I believe they called it Smart Docs.
Oh yeah,
And as per usual with technology in Canada, there were already tools in the States doing this, and I think they got a lot of inspiration from that. But if you think about a typical mortgage transaction, let's say I'm employed T4 with a company. When I go to purchase a home, almost every bank needs 8 documents. I'm just making that up, but let's say 8 documents. They always need it. And depending on the bank, they may need two or three more. And then if you're self employed, every bank needs 12 documents because you're a bit more risky or whatever, plus, depending on the bank, two or three more. So, what Finmo and all of the tools have now, but came out with was as the client's filling out the online application, you ask them, are you self employed? How much money do you make? Do you
right.
get a
Yeah.
salary or hourly or whatever? Based on that, this tool, when they're done the online application, will automatically say, give us these 12 documents because now you know they're self-employed. You know you're going to at least need those 12 documents. It's funny because we did something like that in the app we built, but it wasn't as sexy as Finmo's, nowhere near.
Honestly.
And long story short, the client that we built the app for eventually just said, you know what, I'm going to Finmo. So that tells you
Oh,
how.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Anyways,
Okay. Oh, yeah.
long story short, it's a really, it might sound easy now, but that client experience where, because once the client's in the app filling it out, they've got some momentum. So if you can automatically just say, okay, now
Right.
you're at step two and pre-fill step two, and they're already in mortgage application mode, you can get those docs really quick, and speed is important. So that was the first one that these tools had, and it made brokers look really badass. And there was a lot of pushback when that one came out. Oh, this system could never ask for the docs for me. Like I know TD asks for these weird
Yeah.
docs and all that. But it's that whole 80/20 rule. Like majority of the documents are always the same, no matter how much you say it's your secret sauce. And so if you can get that in front of the clients quickly, then you can focus
Yep.
on other ways to differentiate. And anyway, so
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's like, hey, don't let, and you're probably right. I mean, when you're collecting docs for yeah, a client, and there's 10 docs, just to use round numbers, that you'll eventually need to get, and it's going to depend on the situation and the lender and all these things. Yeah, 6, 7, maybe 8, going to be the same. So don't let the 3 or 4 hold you back from being more efficient with the 6 and 7. It's going to be a much better client experience, well, for the client. But it's also just going to make you so much more efficient because the reality, I mean, for better or for worse, we've talked about this, I think, before. Everyone is used to that, Amazon type service, which is, hey, I need everything now. And so as soon as you put a blocker in place, as soon as you say, okay, thanks for your application, we're going to review it and then tell you the doc. So you're doing that part, not the system. Just momentum flows so much, right? Hey, you know, I don't know, 10 p.m. at night. I just put my kids down. I'm typing in the application. I'm feeling good. I'm making good progress. I'm feeling good about myself. Boom. I hit that roadblock. The wind's out of my sails. I got a busy next 3 days. And so if you can get those docs at that moment versus 5 days later when the person has time to breathe again, think about that, right? In a typical transaction, how valuable those 5 days are. So I think it's about, yeah, removing all those roadblocks, getting those wins where you can by being smart, but then also, yeah, really building that momentum, giving that really nice user experience, so that they are motivated to kind of keep going. The other one I was going to say too, I mean, with the smart stuff, you talk about the docs. I think it's actually even relevant on the application. And this is, I think, another really good example of, the in-person, doing a paper application versus in-person doing it on the screen together. Very something simple like you need 3 years of employment history, right? And that's going to be true. Again, 90% of the lenders out there need that, if not all of them. Depends the type of deal you're doing, but that's going to be smart enough for you, right? You're not going to say, okay, well, where did you work and when did you start? Okay, January 2020, and then you and the client are sitting there getting out your calculator on the iPhone saying, is that 2 years or is that 3 years? The system just does it for you and just automatically says, okay, well, what was your job before then? And then, okay, you put another job, and then what was your job before then until you get to those 3 years. So instead of all that downtime, you're going to look really good and you're not going to get into the situation where the client leaves the office. Then you do the math. You say, oh shit, it's not it's not 3 years, it's two and a half,
Yeah.
right? Oh, calling them up and now they're on the road. And it's the same situation we talked about before. So it's almost building those fail safes in place for you. So if you're completing an application, you're getting everything that's relevant, right? I think that's another huge part of these kind of the intelligence that comes with these online applications.
When you're shopping around looking for a tool, and a lot of you are part of networks that give you a tool for free or whatever. But if you are looking, I'm pretty sure all of them have this in some fashion now. Uh, I don't know. Does Boss have this? Like document
Which,
collection in Smart Docs?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is kind of one of those things that it's there now with all of them. All of them have different ways of doing it, but it's definitely not something where you're like, oh, this one doesn't have it. So if this matters to you, go elsewhere. But yeah,
Yeah. One thing that I guess is a little bit, I don't know, I don't want to say controversial about this, but I know many of our clients have had mixed feelings. We work with a really big shop in Mississauga, and they were really against this. And then we've worked with other folks who are really for this, which is the idea of a login, right? Because that's, I guess, one of the big maybe drawbacks. If you just send over a paper app, whatever, someone can just come in and write in their details, send it back, easy peasy, right? Whereas if you do a online app, some of these, I think all of them now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think maybe Scarlet has a version that's not like this, but maybe that's changed too. All of them require you to log in.
yeah,
And some people, I don't like that. Like, for example, every time someone's like login, it's like, no, I'm not giving you my email. I don't want to make a password. I don't want to have to remember this password and do all this stuff. And so it creates friction there. And I think, we saw drop off. Like that was a huge drop off point for one of our clients. And so that's the downsides of it, but there's obviously pluses with it. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like, are you kind of in the pro logging camp? Are you in the
yeah. I mean,
anti-logging camp? I go back and forth, if I'm being honest.
yeah, I do too. But I think I lean more toward. I totally get what you're saying, and the drop off does happen. I just am naturally, if you guys haven't found out from me and Tom yet in our episodes, I I'm the one who slings my email out there. I've probably been hacked 30 times. I try all the new things,
Oh
and I'm
yeah.
kind of shiny
What's the
object guy oftentimes. So,
what's the tool that tells you if you've been hacked or not?
oh shoot.
I'll try to put in the show notes here.
Yeah,
I'll look it
maybe.
up as you're going.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
totally agree that login drops off. I just functionally don't know how these tools can not give a login, and maybe you do. I've never been able to wrap my head around it because if you're going to it and you're uploading documents like my pay stubs, etc., and you don't ask me to log in, well, am I just going to a unique link? And if so, could anyone take that link if I forwarded it to them or they got it from my email? And maybe that's the risk reward there where it's like
Oh yeah,
it's a bit
yeah.
less
It's a bit rough.
secure, but there's no login. So I think that's why they put that there, or a big reason. And so that's where I lean. But if you look at true like churn on the app or drop off or whatever, yeah, I remember that broker you're talking about saying many times, like if it because he deals with
It's
a
a deal
certain type of
breaker, right?
clientele
Oh,
that
that
like
yeah,
yeah they don't and anyone but like this clientele especially it's like they're not very loyal, they're shopping around, etc. So it's just like no barriers at all, let them get a quote on the
right.
rate ASAP. um so
Yeah, no, yeah, and so maybe it is specific, and I think maybe it's something even to for brokers out there to build into your client journey. Like if this is something that you're serious about and it is something you want to have and a big part of your client journey. The step before that, which is probably the discovery call, where you're meeting them and you're learning their needs and making them building that relationship, setting those expectations even, right? Saying, hey,
Yeah, that's
how
true.
we do the transaction is we actually use this portal, completely secure. You are going to have to do a login. Are you okay with that? Just because, yeah, what you don't want is have that conversation. You send it out and they say, oh, I have to do a login. That's BS. I want to, let's have
Yeah.
another phone call, and then you're going back and forth, right?
That
Um,
app, by the way, I found it. It's called uh it's kind of a funny name. Have I Been Pwned? PWNED. For all you gamers out there, you'll know
okay.
what that is. .com.
Okay, let
So
me
if
put
I
mine
put
in
in
first.
mine, I'm putting in my personal.
Yeah, I'm putting in my personal too. I have been phoned once by
Oh
my
yeah?
fitness pal in February of
Oh yeah,
2018.
that was a big one. I'm on there too for sure.
Oh no.
Uh
Let me
oh
do my
no,
work
pwned.
one.
So I've been pwned 17 times.
No, you haven't.
Uh
Come on.
yeah, Adobe, 8 tracks, Canva,
Okay.
Cache Crate, Daily
Oh no.
Motion,
Every hacker out there has your email, man. You are on every
PSP,
list.
ISO. I used
Oh
to hack
no.
PSPs as a kid for money.
Oh
In
no.
2015, they got pwned. Twitter, 200 million
Oh no.
pwned in early
Wow.
2023.
I think I remember. Oh, I would have been on Twitter at the time. Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, you're like, yeah, your email has been passed around to every
Yeah,
dark web. Everyone has you.
yeah,
Oh my
basically.
God. But anyways, bringing it all back. Yeah, I think it's right. I mean, login is the way to go. It is about setting expectations and it's about security, but I think it's also being able to come back to it, right? To be able to say, okay, maybe I'm just collecting your docs right now to get you pre-approved. But then now you have a house 3 months later. Now I need a bit more because the lender needs a
Yeah,
bit more. Okay, we can pick up where we left off. We don't have to start over, right? Or even 3 years from now when you're refinancing, you're moving or whatever's happening, again, it's like, hey, that account you made, it still exists. And now you don't have to go in and retype in all that information. Do you still live at 123 Main Street? Oh yeah, you are moving. Okay, let's put that in. And it just makes that so much actually nicer for the client at the end of the day. And it does actually make you a little bit stickier in a sense, right? It's kind of a weird way, but interesting way to think of it is to say, if they were to go to the next broker or even to their bank, they're going to have to retype in all that information, right? It almost becomes that competitive edge to say, hey, and because we're using this system, we have all this information ready to go. We just need you to update a couple details that would have changed, and we're off to the races, right? So it gives you that advantage. So yeah, the last thing to talk about really as it relates to this, and then you can go clean up all your emails or
oh,
can
I've
you
been
do
hacked. I've
anything
been
even?
pwned. No, I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so.
you can. I think
It's
you just
my
yeah.
like childhood email. I see Zynga got hacked on there too, which
Oh
was a
no, like
big
Farmville.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in 2019.
Oh my
Um,
God. Is that your
so
basketball lover one or
yeah,
what's it called?
basketball. One two
Okay.
three three zero at Hotmail. Do you
Yeah,
guys want to
yeah.
pwn it too? I don't really use
Yeah.
it much anymore. But
Yeah.
actually, like the data they took isn't that bad. Well, actually, usually
Anyways,
email password username. So there
there
you
you
go.
go. Yeah, yeah. I mean, email's the big one. But in any case, the last thing before we go and clean all that up is I was going to say integration with deal submission platforms. It's a bit of a weird one because, like we were saying, they're all kind of linked together now, right? This idea of an online portal, a doc portal, online application and doc portal, it's kind of linked with the deal submission. It's like, okay, Velocity gives you that feature, and Lendesk through Finmo gives you that feature, and Velocity gives that feature. But so it's kind of built in. But I mean, back in the day when, especially when you look at something like Scarlet and Finmo, who used to only do this, the integration to be able to then submit it to the lender was obviously hugely important. It's only ever so useful as far as, I collect that information and I can do something with it. So
Yeah.
that's obviously a big one. But the reason I wanted to bring it up because I think it actually made it the challenge to the users or anyone who's in the tech space right now is I actually think it presents an opportunity, right? I think we've been able to through Blue Mortgage, and this isn't really our bag of tricks, which is online applications. We do more CRM stuff, but we've been able to be really successful because hey, we're independent, we're a CRM, but we connect to everybody. Um, I think there could be an opportunity on the online application doc portal side. What do you think? Do you think that's a prime opportunity out there just waiting to be taken, or what do you think?
It definitely could be, just because there is this whole narrative in the network right now, or in the industry, about having choice. And some people, if they're part of, for example, a brokerage that has a deal with, I don't know, Lendesk, they are told or asked very aggressively to use Finmo. Or same thing with Velocity, and same thing with Boss. And so people are looking for something third party. So there's definitely demand there. There's definitely opportunity there. I don't know if the big boys in the market would let it happen, or they'd scoop it up pretty quick or whatever. Like I don't know the go to market there and how successful it would be. I don't know if you
Mhm.
have thoughts on that, but
Yeah,
that's the only thing in my head where it's like you're fighting against some behemoths, and although there is demand, you probably need a couple years
right.
to get market uptick and all that. And um, so,
Yeah,
but it
I
would
think
be
the
great.
only
That's our model, like you said.
yeah, it is
So
our model. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's such a weird market in some senses, Canadian tech, because it is so small, and a lot of the tech that we use is very much so linked with the networks, right? So it's very, this weird power dynamic, it's not the pure technology play out there. So with that said, I think the opportunity exists to just build a really, really good one. I think that's the only way to do it, where it's like, hey, maybe even to start, you can't integrate right away. But it's so, so good on all the other factors that we just talked about that, it is a competitive advantage to use it. Maybe, I'm going to use the buzzword, are incorporating AI and doing that in a really smart way. And so you're taking the time it takes to complete an application from 20 minutes for a client to 2 minutes. Like if you could do that, then hey, yeah, there's a ton of opportunity there, right? Because people be lining out the door to try it. But you're right, it's not like, hey, if I went from 20 minutes to 18 minutes, it's not that much better,
no,
right? It's like
yeah.
it's not enough for someone to fight their network to say, hey, I need to save these 2 minutes for my clients. But if you go from 20 to two, now that's a game changer. So maybe that's the opportunity. But you're right, it is these weird dynamics that people always have to play. But I think there is something there because, yeah, like you said, that's our model and it's been very successful. And I think there's an opportunity here. So I don't know if you have anything else on that, but maybe that's a good place to leave it, a challenge to our listeners to say, hey, if you have a tech mind and a bit of an edge to build something like this, I think there is something there.
I agree. I think there definitely is something there. And if you use the use case of like Finmo, for example, that's kind of how they started. They were
Right.
very tech focused, very good UI, very good engineering, built by brokers, or at least input from brokers, but they had real developers building it. And they built a really good tool, and they went for 2 or 3 years and integrated with everyone at the time. It was mostly Logics that they had to worry
Biologics,
about.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
It's the big dog. Yeah,
and then they got bought, which, I mean, if you're the type of business person who sees that as a success, then they had a success and they're a good use case, but there is no one like them anymore. And
right.
so maybe there is room for a round two per se. And um, yeah, if you use them as a blueprint, it can definitely work. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Well, I think we'll leave it there for now. Thanks again to all our listeners who have tuned in, listened to us ramble a bit, talk about our emails getting hacked, and maybe learn a little bit too. Please feel free to leave any comments in the comment section below. But we really do appreciate your time and attention, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.